Hey everybody, my name is Alamander, just going to be coming at you with a Swain build. The goal of this is to put a little bit of weight behind why I do the Protobelt tech in the mid lane, along with what runes I do to support that kind of playstyle, and what skills I max as well. So buckle up, I should hopefully be able to keep this kind of short. Who I am currently the #1 listed Swain enthusiast across all servers. I'm also the only Swain one trick, I think, that is like Master Plus. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's factual. Um, yeah, so and I'm also one of the few who's trying to maintain that mid integrity when everyone else is kind of going on the 80 carry support style. So what we're going to be covering in this is going to be this list there, which is going to be who I am. Already did that, great. Our build, what rune we're doing. We're going to cover the concept of effective health and trades, um, along with the build and skill maxing reasoning. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right on into that. That's the wrong screen. So we are going to be going this way. I start every game with corrupting potion. The reason for this, probably should go over my runes first. Um, yeah, collection runes, great. This is the build path that I currently run. It's electrocute almost every single game, followed by cheap shot. I tend to go eyeball collector mostly because I'm takedown intensive. You can see that in the way that I play. Mostly ignite is my secondary summoner, unless I'm forced to do something kind of weird by an aggressive laner that's like, I don't know, really threatening to me. But it's pretty rare. I'd rather have kill pressure most games. Occasionally I run the teleport. Ghost Portal can be used. Also, Zombie Ward can be used. This is a real flex rune. You can do whatever you want with it. I swear by Ultimate Hunter, there are cases to use Relentless Hunter and Ingenious Hunter, but they're kind of rare, if I'm being honest. And I think Ravenous Hunter is a trap. I do. The inspiration tree is what's the crux of this build really kind of comes from. They changed biscuits to be given to you every 2 minutes until the minute 6, and they give you 50 extra mana, which is pretty phenomenal for somebody who's going to be attempting the manaless build, which is exactly what we're going to be doing. So we're going to go ahead and grab Biscuit Collector, or Biscuit Delivery, if you will, along with Time Warp Tonic. The advantage of this, with potions or biscuits, you're gaining 50% of their base value immediately, so it allows you to do some burst healing outside of souls. So this is our primary tool of outplaying until you get to your first item. I always run 2 adaptive force runes. Well, not always, but most of the time I run 2 adaptive force runes because, again, I'm takedown intensive, and you'll see that I tend to run either armor or magic resistance depending on my lane, or depending on what jungler I'm planning to pressure. If my goal is to roam around, I will rarely go the health rune. The reason for that is because when we talk about healing, it's important to understand what effective health is versus maximum health. It's easy to see the max health and be really all about that, but one of the things that this build offers you is flexibility, and that's why we're going to hone in on getting a little bit of resistances early in our runes so that we can further build aggressively. So that's the rune set that I take. We will go over to the actual item build now. The item build is going to look like starting with that corrupting potion, getting in an early recall if you can. It's okay to recall at 350 gold. It's okay to recall at 700 gold. The advantage of this build is that you have flexibility and you don't have to sit around waiting for, do I have enough for Blasting Wand? Do I have enough for Catalyst? Swain doesn't get to choose his recall timers because he has terrible wave clear and it just doesn't work. So let's stop pretending it does, and let's build what offsets that. Going double Dark Seal allows you to get that extra passive from those, which is going to increase your healing from potions by 25% per. It's not unique. So if you grab 2 of those, you have 50% increase on that corrupting potion. 50% is going to push it to almost 200 health. You're getting half of that up front as soon as you click the button because of Time Warp Tonic, not counting the biscuit, which is going to start healing 10% if you're missing. So comboing those allows you to have a decent amount of healing outplay outside of Swain's actual kit. Any champion can pull this off. Swain just especially synergizes with it. Using this, the other thing that you're fixing with this build, when you eat 3 biscuits, that's 150 mana. The 2 Dark Seals is 100 mana a pop. Swain now gets 4.5, or it's 4% mana back on souls, and then that goes to 5.5% max mana on souls at level 6. Level 6. That's it. Your E is going to become free at level 6, assuming you have double Dark Seal and you hit it and you actually pull your soul. The advantage of that is that we're going to leave E at level 1 all game until level 14. So that's where it's going to stay. But the build goes a little bit like the double Dark Seal, grabbing either a Ruby Crystal to start building into that Protobelt. You can also go the double Amp Tome here. Early Boots is also good in certain matchups. In lanes like Syndra, you'll see me go double Dark Seal with Merc Treads. Reason being is if you dodge abilities, you win the game. What a concept. And the advantage of Time Warp Tonic as well is that it does give you that extra movement speed. So that pairs really, really well with an aggressive playstyle. The first item we are going to pick up is that Protobelt. Gives you the outplay, allows you to use your flash really aggressively, which is helpful. Usually if Swain doesn't have flash, he's just dead in the water to the first skill shot that goes his way. Protobelt allows you to dodge that. So you can use it aggressively, you can use it defensively. I personally use it aggressively most of the time in laning phase, and I taper out to a less aggressive version of that. Another advantage of the Protobelt tech is that it can be used as wave clear every 35 seconds if you're not running, if you don't have Ingenious Hunter, which you probably don't. So you can do a little bit of wave clear. It can get you in a range of a 5-bolt Death's Hand, which is really, really important. The damage on that ramps pretty heavily up and doesn't do too much if you don't actually hit Death's Hand. So enough bolts, if you will. It gives you a little bit of movement there. It also allows you to be more proactive just in general. The build path is very kind. If I go back with 400 gold, I'm just going to buy a Ruby Crystal. If I go back with 800 gold, I'm going to buy a Ruby Crystal and an Amp Tome. I'm not going to sweat what times I have to recall like I do on Roa. Roa, I'm like, oh, do I have 2,600 gold? Do I have enough money for Roa? I got to go back and get it immediately. No, that's not how the game should be played. And Swain, it's had to be played that way for him for so long, and this build is breaking that from being it's no longer a liability. I tend to go double pen if I get a lead. The advantage of this build as well is that the Dark Seals turn very well into a Mage Eyes should you get that lead. Early Source Shoes plus Time Warp Tonic, you're going to be moving super quickly, plus you have the mobility from that Protobelt as well to dodge skill shots, to make important plays, to pressure junglers, etc. To make E hit, if you throw a weird E and then you want to dash to make it hit, you can do that. It's one of my favorite plays to do. It also opens up your build to be a little bit more health-based, and it reduces your reliance on Zhonya's. The two core items that Swain used to have is it's Roa, it's Zhonya's, and you're forced to get it almost every game. This build, I'm getting neither of those. Those are great items, and they're super situational, but they rely on everybody else in your team to carry you. They just do. You have health, you're a bulwark, you get in the way, but are you actually carrying the game? Probably not. This build puts the carry potential back into Swain and says, hey, if you need a Zhonya's, build a stopwatch. Hey, if you need a Zhonya's, build it third. Why? Third is just so long, so far away. Third item is so rare for a Swain that's going Roa because the game just gets out of control. This way, you at least hold control onto the tempo of the game. So that's the build. I tend to go double pen. Leandry's is great. I do tend to throw Void. And then I have a group of situational items as well. I will occasionally run these. Gargoyle has a lot of value. Rylai's even has value in some instances. Not a huge fan of it, though. Most of the time that I'll go Rylai's, I will instead go a Righteous Glory. Tends to have kind of a better impact in my experience. Luden, you can use if you're like, oh, I got Protobelt, I want to go Luden, give me that 40% CDR, get me in. That's a total viable way of playing. But where I'm currently at, I tend to get punished more for not having the health to really play with on the front line. But anything, you can make it work in any elo. I definitely still get wins going Protobelt Luden, depending on the lane. So that is the basics of the build. That is the basics of the runes. I'll pull the runes up one more time. Not going to go over them, just want to give you guys another view. This is what I do. Last thing I want to do is have a short conversation about skill maxing. So you'll see on the little side to the right here, I have a skill max reasoning thing with a bunch of numbers. Effectively, I took Swain at level 9 and level 13 with 0 ability power. And W has a better ratio anyway, but we're taking base damage for leveling. A level 9 W is going to give you, in a full combo, that's a 5, 5 death hand, along with no passive. I'm not counting passive, but I'm just assuming everything hits from E and W to make this as simple as possible. There is a little bit of advantage. There's like a 10, 15 damage increase by putting your second, third, and fourth point into E. Your fifth point means that there's a small advantage again to maxing W instead. The biggest takeaway from why you should max W and not E is the fact that what is the tool used for? All of Swain's E damage, if you look at it on the LoL wiki, I'll pull it up right now just so you guys can see this. This will blow your mind. We're going to zoom in here too. Alright. All of Swain's E damage, when you level it up, is on the pass-through. When it goes forward. A lot of times when you're getting snares late game, mid game, and in skirmishes, so anytime outside of laning phase, you are clipping with the detonation range at the edge of at the edge of your, if you're hitting like caster minions and grabbing him because he's around at the detonation range, like you're only getting detonation damage there. And if you look, the detonation damage is a joke. It's just a joke. When you put points into E, you muddy when you're strong. Yeah, it's great. If you in a theoretical world where you throw your E through a bunch of people and nobody blocks it, and you're able to throw a straight E at them and hit them, it's wonderful. But the reality is that never happens. It's very, very rare that it happens. Maybe in the support slot it can happen, but never in a mid lane. You have your Yasuo's, your Aurelias, your high mobilities, your Silas's, your Echoes. You need to be able to throw your E. Well, actually, let's rewind. Against those matchups, how do you win? You win by getting souls. You win by having your trade allow you to be healed as well. What's not going to make you win those trades is throwing your E linearly at them and letting them outplay you. With E being left at level 1, it's 60 mana. The cooldown is still, relevant. The range doesn't increase. The snare duration doesn't increase. None of that increases. When all we want from E is the ability to land our W. If the damage is close, it makes way more sense. I would say W is way more reliable in that case, because against better players, your E is not going to, you're not going to get this magic damage on pass through isn't real. You're not going to get it in an actual game. Sometimes you will, but it's really not reliable. When you max W, you know if I hit the snare, let's just say I throw my E and then I flash to make sure that the actual snare connects. If I do that play with E maxed, I'm going to get 75 detonation damage plus 100 W damage. Not counting my Q. We're always maxing Q. If I do that same play, which is 75 plus 100 is 175 with no AP. If I do that same play with a W max and not an E max, where I flash to the side, get the pull, and W, it's going to be 35 plus 300. 175 to 335. So the question then becomes, what do you use E for in a game? Do you use it for the pass-through damage, or do you use it for the snare? Almost everyone's going to say they use it for the snare. I highly suggest, especially in mid lane, to max your W second and avoid E, because E is a trap. I'm telling you, I promise you, I believe that it's a trap. I would not say it if I didn't really believe it. The slow strength also is amazing against assassins for getting picks. It has way more utility. It means that your threat range is way higher, and you don't really lose anything for it. Most of the time with Swain, you're not getting that pass-through damage on E, and that's the truth. If they switch those values so that the detonation damage was more than the pass-through damage, I might change my mind. But until that happens, WMAX is the way to go. Anyway, I think that's where I'm going to cut it. That is the basic Protobelt build. That is the runes, electric tree, the build itself, proto, lots of mobility, double pen, utilize the double healing that you can get, effective healing, a little bit of build flexibility, and my skill max reasoning. Give it a shot. I say give it 5 games. Expect to int once or twice while you're learning it, because it's hard to get used to a new build. And let me know how it goes. Thanks for all your time, and best of luck, guys.